Did you want this? Yeah. Oh, excuse me. Shabbat Shalom. Yeah, I came here tired. Hope everybody doing all right. It's the Sabbath, the reset, the refresh, and all that good stuff. Everybody make sure that you like, share, subscribe, comment if necessary. And if you need a comment and you need it to be private, then you can go to the website and use the chat bubble. So the website at the bottom, we're good? All right. So I'm going to jump straight into this one. Last week, well, I guess Saturday night to Sunday night was the blowing of the trumpets, which is Memorial Feast Day. And so because we were gathered together and we just did the lesson where we was at, I didn't get a chance to actually record it. So I wanted to go ahead and do it now. And then I'm not going to make no promises. I'm about to say I'm going to go into a different one, but I think I'm going to just do this one. So the memorial of the blowing of the trumpets. And what this is about is, obviously, if you're thinking about a trumpet, what is a trumpet used for? Or what is a horn used for? You know, you usually make some type of noise to alarm or signify something. It's a warning. So right now, we're in a time where we're doing everything in kind of more of a spiritual and physical sense, not just the physical. So there's a symbolism to the trumpets. So we might not actually be making a sacrifice now because we offer up our sacrifice now with praise and with our changing of our lifestyles. But we still supposed to blow the horn. And that blowing of the horn now is representing you warning people. You getting out there doing the work. So you got to ask yourself, what is it that you can do to blow the horn or to sound the alarm? You know, we are all blessed with some type of trumpet that we can blow. So without that, without any more, we'll get into it. We're going to start in Leviticus 23 and 23, and we're just going to get some type of understanding of this trumpet. And as a matter of fact, now that I think about it, what's today, the 23rd? Okay, so on the 25th, I guess real quick, because I almost forgot. On the 25th, which is just 2 days from now, we have the Day of Atonement, which begins at sundown on the 25th, and it ends on the 26th at sundown. This is a fast. This is no servile work. If there's any questions about it, of course, you can contact. And what I'll probably do is on this day, obviously, there's no servile work, so I'm going to definitely be free. And we'll go over the Day of Atonement on that day. So what we want to do now is, if we can finally get started. So we're going to go to Leviticus 23 and 23. Now, I always say that, and then I always end up wanting to read the first two. I can't help it. So I'm just going to read 1 and 2, and then we'll drop down to 23. So Leviticus 23 and 1 says, "And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them concerning the feasts of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my feasts." So these are holy convocations, meaning they're holy gatherings. We're supposed to come together in righteousness. We should have some type of word being taught. Usually we try to center it around whatever the holy day is. And then after that, we got to pick up on something. These are not our feast days. These are not the Israelites' feast days. These feast days belong to the Lord. So you got to do them the way that he said it. And you got to do it when he said it, according to the best that you can with your calculations. So now let's get into the Feast of Trumpets. Leviticus 23, we're going to start at verse 23. It says, "And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, In the 7th month, in the first day of the month, shall ye have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing of trumpets and holy convocation. So it's a memorial because it's based on something that's already been done before. But notice it says it is a Sabbath, right? So we treat this with Sabbath rules. However, when it's a feast day, you can cook on the Sabbath. You can you whatever you need to do. If it pertains to whatever the holy day is, then you can do it. So normally you wouldn't cook on the Sabbath because your typical Sabbath you having a day of preparation. But when you go and you look at these Sabbaths that are holy days, yes, you might have some days of preparation, but you also will have certain things that took place on that day that you couldn't do before then. So what we want to do is understand it's a difference in a holy day Sabbath based on the holy day calendar versus your 7-day Sabbath on your weekly calendar. Now, the next thing we want to get is this said in the 7th month, in the first day of the month. So, what is the 7th month? Right now, somebody will probably say, July? I think that's the 7th month. Well, we are obviously not in July. So, we got to understand that this man-made calendar that we're dealing with does not at all line up with God's holy day calendar. God's holy day calendar is based on his calendar, the real calendar. So when you look at that 7th month, is actually the month that we're in now, September. But when you look at that the prefix for September, it means 7. The prefix for October, OCT, means 8, like an octagon, an octopus. So we know the real October, what some people would call October. I know it probably has a different name in actuality. It's the 8th month, not the 10th month. And if you continue, you'll see November is, when you look at that prefix, it gives you 9. December, that DEC, deca, like decade, it gives you 10. So we're not basing God's holy days off of man's calendar because he said these are my holy days. So understanding that, we're going to keep reading, picking it up at verse 25. It says, ye shall do no servile work therein, but ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. This is an example of how this would have been breaking the Sabbath, to make a fire and to go ahead and do a burnt offering on this day, because this day is considered a Sabbath, but it's not your weekly Sabbath, so it's okay to do it because this is still a holy Sabbath, but it's for a feast day. And your feast day Sabbath is going to have some similarities, but it is going to have some differences. So, understanding that, we're going to move on. We're not going to go to 26 until 2 days from now when we do the Day of Atonement. Let's get Numbers 10 and 1. Numbers chapter 10, verse 1. All right. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, make thee 2 trumpets of silver. Of a whole piece shalt thou make them, that thou mayest use them for the calling of the assembly and for the journeying of the camps. So they had particular trumpets, just that they would blow just for the people to come together. Verse 3. And when they shall blow with them, all the assembly shall assemble themselves to thee at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And if they blow but with one trumpet, then the princes, which are heads of the thousands of Israel, shall gather themselves unto thee. When you blow an alarm, then the camps that lie on the east parts shall go forward. When you blow an alarm the second time, then the camps that lie on the south side shall take their journey. They shall blow an alarm for their journeys. But when the congregation is to be gathered together, ye shall blow, but ye shall not sound the alarm. So obviously, they got different sounds. They have different sounds they can blow with the trumpets, where one is an alarm, one is for the gathering of the assembly. They had a certain amount of times you would blow, so each section would know when their time is to come, right? Now let's see who is it this blowing these. Verse 8. And the sons of Aaron, the priest, shall blow with the trumpets, and they shall be to you for an ordinance forever throughout your generations. So the priests are the ones that blow the trumpets, right? But in, I think it's First Peter, it tells us we are a nation of priests. So it's not just the Levites anymore. Remember, that was changed when Christ died and resurrected. It said in Hebrews, I think 9 or 10, one of them, it says it was a necessity that the law be changed when it comes to the priesthood. So instead of it being just the Levites, remember, Christ is the high priest, but he was a Jew, right? Now anybody can be a priest as long as the Most High has approved you. Now, that makes all of us priests once we get in this word and the Most High approves us after we study to show ourselves worthy. So he says, all right, this is what I've given you. Now go sound the alarm. Go blow your trumpet. Verse 9. And if you go to war in your land against the enemy that oppresseth you, then ye shall blow an alarm with the trumpets, and ye shall be remembered before the Lord your God, and ye shall be saved from your enemies. Also in the day of your gladness and in your solemn days. So solemn days or your feast days, the days of your gladness and in your solemn days, and in the beginnings of your months, you shall blow the trumpets over your burnt offerings and over your sacrifices of your peace offerings, that they may be to you for memorial before your God. I am the Lord your God. Now, a lot of people will say we don't have to do this anymore, but they're not understanding. The burnt offering, the peace offerings, and things like that, Christ replaced a lot of that. But some of these things, the sacrifices, we still do it in a different way. He tells you to offer up a sacrifice of praise, right? So when the new moon come in, maybe that's a practice that we should all be doing. We should say, hey, it's a new moon. Let's all offer him up some praise. Let's give him some praise. Hey, it's a holy day. Let's offer him up some praise. Let's still do what we can. Let's continue though. Let's get Exodus 19 and 9. Exodus chapter 19, starting at verse 9. Yeah. And the Lord said unto Moses, lo, I come unto thee in a thick cloud, that the people may hear when I speak with thee, and believe thee forever. And Moses told the words of the people unto the Lord. And the Lord said unto Moses, go unto the people and sanctify them today and tomorrow, and let them wash their clothes, and be ready against the third day. For the third day the Lord will come down in the sight of all the people upon Mount Sinai. So he's telling them, look, make yourselves clean physically and spiritually. A lot of people say you don't get baptized in water because it's not a physical clean. Well, we're reading right here. He says, sanctify them, which is spiritually clean, and let them wash their clothes. So obviously he is wanting a certain appearance from you and a certain status of cleanliness from you. At least, if nothing else, on these days. Bring your best. Verse 12. And thou shalt set bounds unto the people round about, saying, take heed to yourself that you go not up into the mountain, or touch the border of it. Whosoever toucheth the mount shall be surely put to death. There shall not a hand touch it, but he shall surely be stoned or shot through, whether it be beast or man, it shall not live. When the trumpet soundeth long, they shall come up to the mountain. So they had a certain amount of time where they could not go to that mountain. And if you did, you would die. And I believe that's because the Most High was coming down. And he said, I don't want y'all to get within a certain proximity. Verse 14. And Moses went down from the mountain unto the people and sanctified the people, and they washed their clothes. And he said unto the people, be ready against the third day. Come not at your wives. And it came to pass on the third day in the morning that there were thunders and lightnings and thick cloud upon the mountain, and the voice of the trumpet exceeding loud, so that all the people that was in the camp trembled. Now, that's a scary sight. The Most High is down here, and it's thick clouds, it's thunders, it's lightning. Keep this in mind, right? Keep this in mind. Verse 17. And Moses brought forth the people out of the camp to meet with God, and they stood at the nether part of the mountain. And Mount Sinai was altogether on a smoke, because the Lord descended upon it in fire. And the smoke thereof ascended as the smoke of a furnace, and the whole mount quaked greatly. Now keep this all in mind. We got thunders, you got lightning, right? You got earthquake, you have smoke and fire. Now, in verse 19, here's the cap. It says, and when the voice of the trumpet sounded long and waxed louder and louder, Moses spake, and God answered him by voice. So you got all that with a trump. Sounds like Revelations, right? Well, he says, I called the end from the beginning. So in order to understand Revelations, you have to understand the beginning. A lot of people ask questions and seek answers out of order. They don't understand it. The book is not a book like a literature book. It's not a math book. It's not a science book. It's a spiritual book in which he told us how to seek these things out, line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little. You know why? Because it's a spiritual book. You can't read it from Genesis to Revelations just like that and understand it, because this is not Dr. Seuss. This right here is going to go Genesis, then it might jump to Nehemiah, then it might jump to Matthew, then it might jump back to Genesis. And before you know it, you in Numbers. You never know. So understanding that, you got to be ready and you got to study it according to how that spirit guides you. A lot of people don't have the spirit to guide them. That's another conversation. Just pay attention to the trumpets today. Now, we're going to keep moving. Let's get Joshua 6:1. Joshua 6:1. Now, Jericho was straightly shut up because of the children of Israel. None went out and none came in. So they got this thing blocked in, don't they? And the Lord said unto Joshua, see, I have given into thine hand Jericho, and the king thereof, and the mighty men of valor. And ye shall compass the city, all ye men of war, and go round about the city once. Thus shall thou do 6 days. And 7 priests shall bear before the ark 7 trumpets of ram's horns. And the 7th day ye shall compass the city 7 times. And the priests shall blow with the trumpets. So this was almost like a ritual, right? They're going around once a day. On the 7th day, they're going around how many times? 7, right? That ain't 7. You had up 9. What? 7. So when they do that, and the priest is going to blow, right? So we got 7 trumpets here in Joshua, but we got 7 trumpets in Revelation. We have a trump in Revelation with earthquakes. We got a trump in, where do we just come from? Exodus with earthquakes. You got to mix it up. It's going to be that way. Verse 3. No, verse 5. And it shall come to pass that when they make a long blast with the ram's horn, and when ye hear the sound of the trumpet, all the people shall shout with a great shout, and the wall of the city shall fall down flat, and the people shall ascend upon every man straight before him. That's straight. That's crazy, because I want to say what it says with the shout, right? But I want to say I'm going to save it just in case we're going there for that 7th trump, because this was the 7th trump, and with a shout, everything came down, right? Well, with the 7th trump in Revelation, everything comes to the end. That's the end of it. Let's continue though. Verse 6. Yeah. And Joshua the son of Nun called the priests and said unto them, take up the ark of the covenant, and let 7 priests bear 7 trumpets of ram horns before the ark of the Lord. And he said unto the people, pass on and compass the city, and let him that his arm passed on before the ark of the Lord. And it came to pass when Joshua had spoken unto the people that the 7 priests bearing the 7 trumpets of ram's horns passed on before the Lord and blew with the trumpets. And the ark of the covenant of the Lord followed them. Now, that was important because the ark of the covenant of the Lord was how he communed with them, right? So if you had the ark of the covenant with you, then 9 times out of 10 the Lord was with you, right? Verse 9. And the armed men went before the priests that blew the trumpets, and the reward came after the ark. I don't know what that is. The reward. The priests going on and blowing with the trumpets. And Joshua had commanded the people, saying, Ye shall not shout, nor make any noise with your voice, neither shall any word proceed out of your mouth until the day I bid you shout. Then shall ye shout. So the ark of the Lord compassed the city, going about at once, and they came into the camp and lodged into the camp. And Joshua rose early in the morning, and the priests took up the ark of the Lord. And 7 priests bearing 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark of the Lord went out continually and blew with the trumpets. And the armed men went before them, but the reward came after the ark of the Lord. The priests going on and blowing with the trumpets. So they doing everything the Lord said do. And the second day they compassed the city once and returned into the camp. So they did 6 days. And it came to pass on the 7th day that they rose early about the dawning of the day and compassed the city after the same manner 7 times. Only that day they compassed the city 7 times. And it came to pass at the 7th time, when the priests blew with the trumpets, Joshua said unto the people, Shout, for the Lord has given us the city. Now I want y'all to remember this, because at the 7th trumpet, it was a shout, right? And they was given the city. But in Revelations, we're going to see it's 7 trumpets. At the 7th, the last one, is going to be a shout. And guess what comes down out of the sky? New Jerusalem, right? So we get in the city. Same thing happening again. We're going to continue 17 again. And the city shall be accursed, even it, and all there are therein to the Lord. Only Rahab the harlot shall live. Oh, I don't need that. I'm sorry. I don't went past it. I got in the zone of reading. It's all good. Let's get Neamiah. Let's do that one. Nehemiah 4:16. You got that? Nehemiah chapter 4, verse 16. Yep. All right. Oh, gotta take the top off the drink. Let's leave the top off. And it came to pass from the time forth that the half of my servants wrought in the work, and the other half of them held both the spears, the shields, and the bows, and the habergeons, and the rulers were behind all the house of Judah. They which builded on the wall, and they that bear burdens, with those that laid it, every one with one of his hands wrought in work, and with the other hand held a weapon. So the people that was on the wall building, the people that had stuff on their backs, transporting it back and forth, everybody, they're working with one hand and they got the weapon in the other hand. What does that mean? While you're still doing the work, you still need to be prepared to do this fight for the Most High, because we're doing this same thing spiritually. Verse 18. For the builders, everyone had his sword girded by his side, and so builded. And he that sounded the trumpet was by me. And I said unto the nobles, and to the rulers, and to the rest of the people, the work is great and large, and we are separated upon the wall, one far from another. In what place, therefore, ye hear the sound of the trumpet, resort ye there unto us, our God shall fight for us. So right here we see God is going to fight for them, right? But they still had to be prepared with weapons. So what does that mean? God is going to come down here and punch it out with people? No, he is fighting for us through us. So you still have to do something. Remember, faith without works is dead. So you believe God's going to fight for you. You show that by saying, when we hear the trumpet, I don't care who we're going against, we're going to be there, we're going to show up, and we're going to be ready to fight because we know God is with us. But we're going to be prepared. God always tells you to be prepared. He is not a God that's going to be sitting there trying to wait for you to put your socks and shoes on to get ready to go somewhere. Remember, even in Exodus, what did he say? Eat your food with your staff in your hand and your shoes on your feet, because when it's time to go, it's time to go. This is how he moves with the, well, I'm going to jump the gun. I don't want to do that. But I'm going to read 21. It says, so we labored in the work, and half of them held the spears from the rising of the morning till the stars appeared. So all day long, they working on the building, but they also are prepared for the fight. You have to do that in your life. Quit crying and complaining about everything that's going on. Be prepared to go through something and fight while you're still living your regular life. You still have a duty to do in the world and a duty to do for the Most High. That's the same thing that they had here. Let's get Isaiah 27 and 13. You got that one on there? Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's get that one. Isaiah chapter 27, verse 13. All right, my time good. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Now, this is some futuristic stuff here. I just want to show you, now that we're getting into the futuristic stuff. It says, and it shall come to pass in that day. Y'all see that? So this is futuristic. In that day, this wasn't their time. And it shall come to pass in that day that the great trumpet shall be blown. And they shall come which were ready to perish in the land of Assyria. Excuse me. So you must have some people in Assyria that's Israelites. It don't really match that 12 tribe chart. But he tells you right here, in the land of Assyria, and the outcast in the land of Egypt. So you're going to have people in Assyria and in Egypt. And what are they going to do? And shall worship the Lord in the holy mount at Jerusalem. So when that great trumpet is blown, they're going to all go back to their original land. This is what is going to happen. So let's get some more on that trump. Let's get 1 Corinthians 15 and 52. You got a Daniel 7 and 13 on there? Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to do that one. All right. So I said, which one now? 1 Corinthians 15, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're gonna stick with that. 1 Corinthians 15 and 52. Now consider everything we've read up until this point. And 52 says, in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye. So that's really quick. That's fast. In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye. At the last trump. How many trumpets is it? 7, right? So which one is this? 7th trump. We keep reading about the 7th trump, the last trump, the great trump, right? In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump, for the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed. Y'all see that? We shall be changed. So what we gotta understand is that the 7th trump, that is the end. So you got 6 trumpets of warnings before the 7th. At the 7th, that is the one that signifies game over. This is the dead in Christ rising, and this is us going into the kingdom at the 7th trump, or the preparation to go into the kingdom, rather. So what we got to understand is 6 trumpets was really warning us. We look at these 7 trumpets of Revelation and we see what's going on, and we see destruction, and that is true. But we also should see 6 warnings for the world to get it right. You got to get it right within that amount of time. And that was 1 Corinthians 15 and 52, right? Mm-hmm. All right, let's get I gotta add one. I need to add one. I want to get First Thessalonians 4:16. Yeah, I think that's what I want to do. Yep. And let me see. Because the reason I want to add this one, in Joshua, it said the trump, at the seventh trump, that it would be a shout, right? He said at that seventh trump, he said, don't say nothing all the way to the seventh trump, then there would be a shout, right? And we know in Revelations it's got seventh trump. And we just read about the great trump, which is the last trump, which is the seventh trump, which is the end, and everybody coming together. So now I want to read that First Thessalonians 4:16. Let me know when you're ready. All right. It says, for I probably should have did 15. That's all right. 16. For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven. So this is descend has come down, right? So he's coming down from heaven at this point. This is the end. Well, let's see what takes place. It says, for the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout. Y'all see that? So we got that shout again. So we must have a trump somewhere, right? I don't know why this ain't in here. I don't know what happened. I must have been sleeping or something. It says, for the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trump of God. And the dead in Christ shall rise first. We just read that at the last trump, the dead was going to rise, right? We know it's 7, so we know that's the 7th trump. That's the great trump, right? Now we're reading here that at this trump, it's going to be a shout. And we know with the shout, what happened? Jericho, the walls of Jericho fell, right? And we also know that with a shout, the Lord is coming back. And when he comes back, what does he bring with us? In Revelations, I think 20 or 21, it says he brings with us, brings with him the kingdom, right? Jerusalem. So if Jerusalem is coming down, what you think will happen to the rest of the world? The same thing that happened to Jericho. The 7th trump, the shout, and the takeover. And we know it because it says the dead in Christ shall rise. And we just read in 1 Corinthians 15 and 52 that at that last trump, what would happen? That the dead in Christ would get their eternal bodies, right? I'll reiterate it real quick. It said, a moment, twinkling of an eye, at the last trump, for the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible. Same thing. So we want to finish the lesson off with Revelations 8:1. Because I believe we should understand that at this point. There's a lot more I could have did with it, but I just want to do a little something for the holy day. Revelations 8:1. And when he had opened the 7th seal, there was a silence in heaven about the space of half an hour. And I saw 7 angels which stood before God, and to them were given 7 trumpets. Here we go again with the 7 trumpets. I don't know what the 7 represents, but I know it's 7 days in a week, and 8 is a new beginning, and 7 represents the end. So I'm thinking the 7 trumpets represents the end of this world or this kingdom and the beginning of Christ's 1,000-year reign. So we're going to drop down to verse 5. Revelations 8:5 now. And the angel took the censer and filled it with fire of the altar and cast it into the earth. And there were voices and thunderings and lightnings and an earthquake. Do y'all remember that? We just read that in Number. Was it Number or was Joshua? You sure it was Joshua? I thought it was Numbers. But we read it. I'm just going to say Joshua because he said it. So we read that whenever Moses was dealing with the people and God came down, it was earthquake, lightning, thunder, and it said fire and smoke, right? Christ is coming back with chariots of fire, and we read here thunder, lightning, earthquake, the same thing. But that was at the 7th trump when in the Old Testament when we read it. So let's continue. Verse 6. And the 7 angels which had the 7 trumpets prepared themselves to sound. So we got the same thing going on, 7 trumpets sounding. And I guess we'll stop there. Because if we continue, then we'll be going into another lesson. So thanks for your time. Like, share, comment, subscribe. This is the lesson for the memorial of the blowing of the trumpets, which was the holy day that we just practiced from, Saturday sundown to Sunday sundown. And the next one will be on the 25th at sundown to the 26th at sundown. And that is the Day of Atonement, in which we are fasting and we are becoming a sacrifice in the flesh, of course, symbolically, for the Most High and for the representation of sin as well. So we'll go into that on the either 25th or 26th, or more than likely 26th. That's the lesson. If you got any questions, y'all know how to reach me. Appreciate your time. I'm gone.